Today we will learn about solving quadratic equations. There are three methods. First one, using factorization. Second, using perfect square method. Third one, using the formula. So now we will understand what formula we are going to use. That formula would be x is equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac square root divided by 2a. So this is going to be the formula. So this formula is relevant to this quadratic equation. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to c. So this is going to be the solution to this general quadratic equation. So now we will first understand the factorization. So, and we will talk about few examples. So under factorization, example number 1, if you have x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. So we know that the coefficient in front of x squared would be 1, and I'm going to multiply 1 with plus 6. It's going to be 6. And then I will see the possible multiples of 6. That would be 2 times 3. And when you add these together, it's going to be plus 5. And that is what essentially I'm looking at, plus 5 over here. So once you have that, we can rearrange this quadratic formulation, which is x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6 is equal to 0. So now what I'm going to do here, what I'm doing here is I'm making 5x from 2x and 3x. Now I can see from these two terms, x is a common factor. I get it out. So, and I will write down the remaining part. From these two terms, plus 3 is a common factor. Then I can write x plus 2. Now, from here, we have to be careful in this level. Why? Because if you carefully look at this term and the second term, so for the first term and the second term, x plus 2 is a common factor. So you can take x plus 2 out. Then the remainder would be x plus 3. That is going to be 0. Now, we know the null factor theorem. Null factor theorem means if you have two brackets multiplying each other, and that is going to be 0. So this bracket is going to be 0 by itself, and the second bracket also going to be 0 by itself. Then you get x plus 2 is equal to 0. So from there you get x is equal to minus 2. So from the second bracket you get x plus 3 is equal to 0. There you get x is equal to minus 3. So there are two solutions, x is equal to minus 2 and minus 3. Now we will take another example. Example number 2 now. So now in the second example, we will try to find the factorization of this. So now you can see in the right hand side you have minus 2. So what I will do, I will take that minus 2 to the other side. So I get x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. So now what I do, I can see plus 1 over here. So I'm going to multiply with this. So it's going to be plus 4 now. So I'm going to make plus 4 like this, so that when you add these two terms, I get plus 4. So I have to get the coefficient of x from here. Now what I can do, I can rewrite this x squared plus, now 4x I'm going to write as 2x plus 2x. So 2x plus 2x. Then the 4, the constant, I'm going to write as it is. Now I will consider these two terms. And when you consider these two terms, x is the common factor. So you can do it this way. Now, when you think about these two terms, 2 is a factor. So I can take that out. Now, if you think about this term and the other term, x plus 2 is a common factor. So you take x plus 2 out. When you take x plus 2, the x plus 2 here, where you have the check marks, can be written at the end. Now, using the null factor theorem, you can say these two are individually 0. So from here you get x is equal to -2 and -2. So this is the solution for this, and this is called the repeated root for a quadratic equation. Let's talk about another equation. X squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 0. Now again, the coefficient is +1. If I multiply that with 9, I get +9. +9 can be constructed by using 3 plus 3, +3 and +3. When you add these together, it's going to be +6. So now what I can see, +6 is going to be compatible with the middle term over here. Now I can rewrite it, x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9 is equal to 0. Now what you can see, if you think about these two terms, x is a common factor, so take that out. So the remaining term can be written in this way, plus when you think about these two, so 3 is a common factor, so that would be x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now if you think about this term and the second term over here, x plus 3 is a common factor again, x plus 3 itself a common factor, then you will have the remainders, which is x plus 3. Again, we will use the null factor theorem. So if you use the null factor theorem, you get this term to be 0, you get this term to be 0. So individually they are going to be 0. So you get x plus 3 is equal to 0. So this is from here, and x plus 3 is equal to 0, and that is from here. Now from here we can say x is equal to -3, and from the second term also we can say x is equal to -3. Overall, x is equal to -3 and -3. Again, they are repeated roots. Now we will talk about the second method to solve quadratic equations, which is perfect square method. Let me take an example. Example number 1. If you get x squared plus 6x plus 7 is equal to 0. Now, how we are going to solve this? Using perfect square method. So in the perfect square method, what you are going to do is, you are going to remove the complexity of having two x's. What you will do, you put x here, and then you get the half of this term, which is +3. And then get the full square. Then I'm going to write down the +7 as it is. So I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to minus the square of this one, which is 9. That is going to be 0. So this is the technique. It's very easy. Now what I will do, I will simplify this a little bit. So this is going to be -2 is equal to 0. So from here I get x plus 3 to the power 2 is equal to 2. Now from here we have to find x. So I will take the square root of both sides. So that means I'm introducing power half in both sides, 2 power half. So when I'm using the square root, I have to introduce plus and minus. So these two will cancel each other. So you get x plus 3 is equal to plus and minus square root 2. Now x value would be -3 plus and minus square root 2. And that would be the answer to that question. Now we will talk about another question. Question number 2. You have x squared minus 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. So similarly, what we do, we take x and then we get the half of this, which is -3 divided by 2, the whole thing squared. Then the -1 you have here, is going to be copied. And then always you have to minus the square of this term. And that is going to be 9 divided by 4 is equal to 0. Now it's a little bit of algebra. So x minus 3 divided by 2 squared. Now what I will do here, I need to find the common denominator. So here you have 1. I had to multiply by 4 and 4 so that you can get the common denominator. So here you have minus 4 minus 9. It's going to be minus 13 divided by 4 is equal to 0. So from here you can get x minus 3 divided by 2 squared is equal to 13 divided by 4. Now what you will do, you have to find x. You will consider the square root in both sides. So when you do that, you get x minus 3 divided by 2 is equal to plus and minus the square root of 13 divided by 4. So this can be written as x minus 3 divided by 2 is equal to plus and minus square root 13 divided by 2, because square root of 4 is going to be 2. Now you can move minus 3 divided by 2 to the right hand side. So x is going to be 3 divided by 2 plus and minus square root 13 divided by 2. Now there should be two answers. We should have two answers why it's a quadratic equation. So we will split this answer now. Once you take the positive value, I would say that would be the positive answer of the x. That would be this. And when you take the negative answer, that would be this. And that's the answer to that question. Now let's talk about another example for perfect square method. 2x squared minus 7x plus 2 is equal to 0. First of all, I have to take 2 out. So then I have x squared minus 7 divided by 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now what we will do, we will construct the perfect square from the inside quadratic. That would be x minus 7 divided by 4. Why you have to take the half of this coefficient and then square of that. Then you are going to copy the other term over here. And importantly, you have to minus the square of this. So that would be 49 divided by 16 is equal to 0. Now, I'm going to divide the whole equation by 2. So now you can see 0 divided by 2 is 0. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I get x minus 7 divided by 4 whole thing to the power 2 plus 1 minus 49 divided by 16 is equal to 0. Now here I will get the common denominator. So I have to multiply the denominator by 16 and the numerator by 16 over here. So once you simplify, you get x minus 7 divided by 4, the whole thing to the power 2. Here you get 16 minus 49. So 16 minus 49 is going to be minus 33 divided by 16 is equal to 0. Now you will bring 33 divided by 16 to the other side, which is going to be 33 divided by 16 positive. Now you get the square root of that. So x minus 7 divided by 4. When you take the square root, you have to introduce plus and minus. 33 square root of 4 would be 4. Square root of 16 would be 4. Now what I will do, I will bring this one to the other side. So it's going to be x is equal to 7 divided by 4 plus and minus 33 square root divided by 4. Now there are two solutions. Obviously we have to expect two solutions. Why? It's a quadratic equation. So the maximum power is 2 here. So we are expecting 2 solutions. So if you consider plus, the x solution would be 7 divided by 4 plus value square root 33 divided by 4. And if you consider the minus value, that would be 7 divided by 4 minus square root 33 divided by 4. So there are 2 answers. So those are the answers to that particular question. Now let's talk about the third method using the formula. So this is a very famous formula. X is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2. This is valid for the equation if you have ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is the coefficient of x squared, plus b is the coefficient of x, and plus c is the coefficient of x0, or the constant of the equation. Now let's talk about an example. In this example, what you have to do is you have to see what are the a, b, c values. So a value would be plus 1 over here. This is that. B value would be plus 5. And c value would be plus 6. So knowing those things, what I can do, I can find the answer to x by plugging the corresponding values. So b would be plus 5, so it's going to be minus 5 over here. Plus and minus, b squared would be 25 minus 4ac. 4ac, it's going to be 4 times 1 times 6. So square root of that, the whole thing divided by 2a. So it's going to be 2. So actually this is going to be 2a. It's not 2, it's 2a. So now once you get the answer, so from here you can simplify to get the answer. So it's going to be 25 minus 24 is going to be 1. So square root 1 would be 1. Whole thing divided by 2. So now, as I told you, if you get the plus solution, that is going to be minus 5 plus 1 divided by 2. If you get the minus solution, that would be minus 5 minus 1 divided by 2. So for the plus solution, you get minus 4 divided by 2, which is minus 2. For the minus solution, you get minus 6 divided by 2, which is minus 3. So ultimately, you get 2 answers to that question. So now we will talk about another example. So in this example, a would be plus 2, b would be minus 7, c would be plus 2. Now, when we apply the formula, x is equal to minus b. So minus 7 plus and minus b squared, that's going to be 49, minus 4 times a would be plus 2, c would be plus 2, and square root of that, the whole thing divided by 2a. So 2 times 2. Now once you simplify this, you get 7 plus and minus. Here you have 49 minus 16 square root divided by 4. That is going to be x. So if I simplify further, you get 7 plus and minus. 49 minus 16 is going to be 33 square root, the whole thing divided by 4. Now this is a quadratic equation, so we are expecting 2 solutions. So plus solution, that would be 7 plus 33 square root divided by 4. Minus solution, which is the second solution, that would be 7 minus 33 square root divided by 4. And that's the end of this question, and I will see you in another video.